This video is going to be about a potential pitfall of having somebody you know who quit before you and maybe was an inspiration to you in quitting, and maybe not, but that they quit before you or they quit at the same time as you. And that kind of became a little bit of a buddy system, and I already have 2 videos on buddy systems you can go through. One about buddy systems online and then one about buddy systems in your real world. Quitting at the same time as a friend or family member, spouse. There's pitfalls to quitting with other people. This one, though, is about how you need to learn to listen to people down the road where someone quit before you, quit at the same time as you, and then you run into them, maybe months after you quit or even years after you quit, and you find them smoking. You catch them smoking a cigarette. And sometimes they'll tell you that, yeah, they've relapsed, they're full-fledged smoking again. Sometimes they'll tell you that, after they relapse. But sometimes they relapse, they're full-fledged smoking, but what they tell you is, oh yeah, I just smoke occasionally. I have it under control. It's not that bad of a problem. And you got to understand what they're telling you and what the reality of the situation might be very, very different. This is important to understand. People minimize when they blow quits. They minimize it to themselves, but they minimize it to others. Now, minimizing it to themselves, that poses problems for them. It does, it makes it harder for them to quit because they don't think they have that big of an issue. But when they minimize it to others, they're not just affecting their own quit at that point. They can affect yours. Because you could start to think, wow, you quit at the same time as they did, and you were just like them, and they're controlling it. Maybe you can control it. Or, hey, they quit before you. These were your role models, and they're controlling it. I used to do 2 kinds of stop smoking clinics. I would do community clinics, and I would do corporate clinics. And corporate clinics always had this potential of the people would work with each other. They would run into each other. And you would get times where, let's say, just as an arbitrary number, you had 10 people join the clinic at the same time and quit smoking. Let's say 8 of them quit smoking. That wouldn't be uncommon. And they're off for months, and they're off for a really long time. And then one of them loses the quit. Now, they don't tell anyone about it. That's the general, protocol. You don't tell people. But someone catches them. May not be at the company site. They may catch them on the street one day, miles away from the company, just shopping. And the person will say, oh, yeah, I smoke a little bit, but I have it under control. Now, the successful person who's off smoking is hearing this story that this person has it under control. And they may tell other people in the clinic about it, or maybe not. Maybe it just stays between them. But they start to think, well, if they can do it, maybe I can too. And then they lose their quit. Now, a third person from the program finds out not only just about the original or the second one, they find out about both of them. And they're both claiming that they're controlling their quits. Now, keep in mind, these people may be chain smoking when they're not at work, but they're giving this perception that they've got this quit under control. You could sometimes see whole groups blow this kind of thing because they allowed themselves to listen to what these people were saying and not really understand what may very well be going on. Be forewarned. It is natural for people to minimize what actually occurred. They don't want to admit a relapse. Sometimes you'll find the whole group somewhere down the line outside smoking, in the smoking section that may be left available, maybe at the loading dock, outside freezing, and all still lying to themselves how they got this thing under control. And then the next lie that they're all going to say is, yeah, I'm going to quit real soon. And you'll see these people sometimes do it for years. Don't let other people undercut you. If someone says they got it under control, if you know family members and you know friends of these people, hey, try to find out how much they have it under control, because you may find out something very different. And hey, maybe you'll find the exception to the rule. Maybe you find someone who's smoking just 1 or 2. But again, go talk to all the smokers you know in your world and ask them how many of them have ever quit before and now are chain smoking again, who thought they could do that, and realize the person you met who, again, if they're telling you the truth, they're the exception to the rule. Don't let them undo what you've done. When you have a quit going, you do everything in your power to keep that quit going. And even if someone else seems to be controlling it, you were an addict. That's why you're watching this video. Because if you weren't an addict, you wouldn't have watched you would have watched part of one of my videos and realized, oh, none of this applies to me. Nah, the reason you're watching this, the reason you've been on an online group, whatever it is, it's because you didn't have control of cigarettes at the end stage of your smoking, and you look for support to get off. You lost control because you were a drug addict. You're still a drug addict. It's an asymptomatic addiction as long as you don't take nicotine in again. But once you take it, it's taken you. And it's going to take you down the path you were before. If you want to avoid that path and all the consequences that go with it, it's a matter now, again, of sticking to the commitment you made the day you stopped to never take another puff.